Hello and welcome to Pest in Class, expert voices in pest management. Today I am coming to you from Ignite 2024. If you've never been, this is FieldRoutes User Conference taking place in sunny Orlando, Florida. This is your backstage pass, and I have stacked a group of wonderful guests who are changing the industry and shaping the future of pest control. I'm your host, Amanda Salvatore. Let's get into it. Kendra Snyder, you are the general manager of Quest Termite and Pest in Hellertown, Pennsylvania, and you are here at your very first Ignite. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. This is super exciting. So this is my first Ignite. So this is my first experience. I've been with the software not too long, but it has been an amazing experience. My goal here in the next couple of days is one, the connections. You've got to get people who are using this. You've got to understand what they're doing with it, the ins, outs. How are you going to change it? How do you make it work for your business? And I just spent some time in the hall talking to my folks about what works for my company and what I'd like to see change. And they give you a magic wand and say, if you could do anything, what do you want the software to do? And so I'm like, how many pages can I have? Because it's got some really exciting ideas. So this is an amazing industry, amazing people. We all want to share information. And my goal here is just to understand this software and be a super user and be a resource to other people, hopefully, because at the end of the day, we all really just want to do great things and run our businesses and be successful. And there's enough work out there for everyone. This is just an awesome industry to be in. And it's great software. I'm never look back. Never look back.
I have to ask, what is your strategy coming to Ignite? There's a lot of information. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to see. So how have you attacked Ignite?
So looking at the agenda and trying to figure out how I can divide myself in 4 pieces, which doesn't work very well. So what I've done is I've got some friends here. And so we kind of we divide and conquer, and then we come back and we share information like, hey, what'd you get from that? Because we kind of do talk about it. So just being a newer user, learning all the different tips and tricks and workarounds and really cool pieces of this software has been instrumental. So my goal here, look at the agenda and say, okay, there's so much information. How do I do it all? How do I get it all? But again, the time with folks talking about what they've done, how they've done it, those connections are there's a lot of great content here. There's a lot. They're really packing it in, which is good. They just need to do it all over again in 3 months so I can remember it. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to go back to my office with a list of things that I want to change, do. And everyone's going to be looking at me with a deer in the headlights going, oh my gosh, she got some great stuff. And now we got to figure out what to do with all her information. So it's exciting.
Yes.
It's fun.
Yes, it is. My next question is about who you brought with you from your team to help you digest all of this information. Who's with you?
So there's no one actually from my team because I wanted to fly solo and have quiet time. There's no quiet time here. What am I talking about? But I have friends in this industry, and through the National Pest Management Association, being an executive leadership program student, just made great connections. So it's other companies and like-minded companies and people that you can really trust and share good data with and figure out how you're going to grow your business. This software is really great for that. If you're ready. So I came into the industry from a pharmaceutical background in sales operations. And my husband started the company. And I'm like, I really wanted to make some changes. And we've been growing and growing and growing. And you really have to understand the industry, the needs, the clients, and all those pieces. And then use this software. The data you get in a glance is amazing. I mean, I couldn't ask for better data. My KPIs, I don't have to go figuring out a report to run to check a KPI. I click on my homepage and I'm like, oh, it's all there. It's really cool. Yeah. It's so cool. And you could break it down. You click on it. You're like, oh, now I know what that means. It's broken down. And now I can just follow up on this. So it makes life for me much easier.
Yeah, it sounds like it does. Mm-hmm. That leads me to my next question. Mm-hmm. What are some of the features in FieldRoutes that you use which have elevated your business?
I just talked about this with someone in the hall. The trigger rules are a game changer. Trigger rules that automate so much of your work that you don't have to think about. And in a world where it's hard to find a strong workforce and to multitask and be able to have that work for you, reminders, hey, I've got a corrective service that only has a 30-day warranty. I want to follow up with them. I want to know who my initial services were yesterday so I can have my sales team follow up and say, how did that go? I don't have to go back and look through any of those, look through the schedule. I just set up a trigger rule, it goes right to that person, and it's all done. I don't worry about it. So that's one. That's been a game changer. Love the scheduling. It's different look, but once you get used to it, it's very easy. Easy to click on something, just add something without all the extra, like if I have a new client and I want to just click on a spot and hold that spot so someone else doesn't take that spot, very easy to do. And then I can add the data later because as the phone's ringing, I just keep, changing, adding spots and fill it all in when I get a chance. So those are two big things. All my reminders that are automated, my renewal software, like it's really coming together really nicely.
Incredible. What would be your advice to someone who is considering FieldRoutes?
Great question. So I would like to be part of a team that helps that implementation to understand how the software thinks. And in a world where you might be coming from pen and paper, you might be coming from just using QuickBooks, you might be coming from using a software that just doesn't work as your business is growing, understanding, taking the time to talk to your implementation team to say, here's in a clean way, if I could start all over again, whether it's a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, which we were, how do I want this set up? How do I want it to look? How do I want it to feel? And the good thing about the software, it's so easy to use. It's so, I'm not a techie nerd, but I mean, I can get around tech, but I'm not I don't consider myself professional, but I certainly don't have a problem getting through the software. You dig, and then you're like, oh, that's a really cool report. That pulls some good data. I'm going to save that one. So yeah, great stuff. But I would just ask the questions, ask the hard questions, because if it's not something they offer, maybe it's something they'll consider. So it's really an opportunity for you. It's an open book with great resources at every corner, every turn. Great people I've worked with.
I love that. Kendra, thank you so much for stopping by. I know you're very busy and you have a lot of ground to cover today.
I know.
Is there anything else that you wanted our listeners to know before we sign off?
If you do select FieldRoutes, and I want to be a resource to anyone who has questions that they're afraid to ask FieldRoutes, I want to be a resource. Call me and ask me those questions. I'm available. I'll make myself available. I want to help other people grow and develop their teams the same way I am. And it's a journey. And I know that the pest control industry, 80 to 90% of all pest control companies are 1 and 2 man operations. So you kind of feel alone, and you're not alone. And coming to these events, it's hard to get away. It's not easy when you're a small company and you're the only person running the office. It's really tough. But if you can take the time to come to an event like this and really engage and learn the software, you'll love it. You'll love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. Raymond Kidwell, you are here at Ignite with Voice for Pest.
Yes.
We just met you on the floor. You were on fire. We were so excited to talk to you. Tell me a little bit about what brings you here to Ignite today.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you too. Again, I'm Raymond with Voice for Pest, and we're here today and tomorrow and yesterday because we are a AI-powered phone system solution. And what makes us different than the million other ones is we have some really amazing integrations with FieldRoutes and Aspire. So we're here to let people know that on our amazing integration, and we also have some fantastic AI features that are really revolutionizing call data and things like that. So we're here just to spread the gospel and get everybody excited.
This program seems really incredible. Can you tell me about some of the features,
Yes.
especially with the call center?
If you insist.
Oh. I do.
Okay. All right. So basically what we do that really kind of separates us apart is, and the integrations are very similar. We have some main features, and the first one is what we call intelligent call routing. So what that means is when a call comes in, since we have access to the customer's database, whether it's FieldRoutes or Aspire, we can identify that number calling in, and if that's a customer, we say we know that because it can match in the database. And then if it's not a customer, we know that as well. Because a lot of companies have auto attendants where they'll say press 1 for customers, press 2 for sales, and a lot of people will press the sales one. They think they can get through faster, So your CSRs end up spending a lot of time transferring calls to sales. So with our intelligent call routing, we can route customers directly through. They don't need to press a button because we already know their customers. And we can even go deeper where maybe if somebody has a balance, we can actually send that call straight to the billing department. Or if in the landscape business on the Aspire side, I know they have a lot of crews and managers. So if we have a couple numbers that are calling in from those crews, we can automate that call when it comes in and send it right to the crew leader. So it doesn't have to go to the office and the person taking the call has to transfer it. So that intelligent call routing really accomplishes a lot for our customers.
Absolutely.
So that's one feature.
Yeah.
Oh, one of many. The second one is screen pop. So when a customer calls in, the account screen pops up automatically so the employee can see the customer's information. It's a faster, more efficient call for the employee. Plus, you can give the caller a much better experience because you can greet them by name. You don't have to ask for an account number and all that. So it's just a better process overall. And just to be clear, the Aspire screen pop isn't completely done yet. We're working with them. That's coming soon. But the FieldRoutes screen pop is there. If it's not a customer, you still get a screen pop. And it takes you right to the screen where you need to put that new customer information in. And it also pre-fills the phone number. So you eliminate the chance of somebody typing in the wrong phone number, which does happen sometimes. Mm-hmm. So we have the intelligent call routing, we have the screen pop, and then we have what we call an auto note. So the auto note automatically is pushed into the customer's account at the end of the call. So anytime you go into the account, you can see it there. And what it does is it gives you the time of the call, the date of the call, who called, who took the call. And so that's the four standard features is the screen pop, click, and then we have click to call. I forgot one, click to call. So click to call is if you want to call a customer, you just click the phone number in FieldRoutes or Aspire. Wow. And the system automatically makes the call. So the advantage there is you don't misdial numbers. It's faster and more efficient. And it's really cool because when you click it, it calls you. So when you first start using it, it's like, whoa, I clicked the number, it called me. But then when you answer, it then places the outbound call. So your employee always hears the phone ring and everything. There's never a time where the customer's on the line and there's nobody there. The call originates once you answer the phone. So intelligent call routing, screen pop, click to call, auto note. So those are the four standard features.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit more about the data and what people are getting from that data and how they're utilizing the data once they have it?
Well, so to get to the data, we have to talk about the AI. Of course, nobody's talking about AI right now. So, of course, everybody's talking about AI. But we're using AI, but I think we're really doing it better because our AI was born and raised in the pest and lawn industry. Because AI is based on large language models, and so what that means is when you have a large language model that's, let's say, from a giant phone company, they have to cover every industry, banking, finance, watercraft, whatever it is. Ours is for this industry. So when people say things like crack and crevice or aeration and overseeding and things like that, our AI understands it and you get better data off of it. So we have a couple of AI features. One is we take that note we have and we enhance it. So not only do they get the documentation of the call, they get a summary of every call. So the employee goes to the note, the customer calls back in for something, they can read the note, they know exactly what happened in the previous call. And a lot of times somebody will call in and say, I called in a month ago and canceled. You came out today, I'm not paying you, right? Or I called and I spoke to Amanda and she said she'd give me a credit, I never got my credit. So the note's right there. But then if they click the link in the note, it gives them the full transcription, the call recording, and the summary. So you really have all the information you need for every single call right there in the account. And it really saves a tremendous amount of time going back and forth. But then the data is from our X-ray dashboard is what we call it. So imagine if somebody listened to every call, transcribed every single call, and then analyzed every single call, and then could take all that data and put it into a fashion that's useful. That's what AI does. So what we're seeing is call data that's never been available before. A lot of times what we do now is tracking numbers, right? We have 10 tracking numbers, and that's telling us how many people are calling, but all that tells you is who's calling your tracking number. It doesn't tell you how many leads you get. And how do you know how many leads you get? Well, then you have to rely on your employees' disposition or labeling calls. And we found that about 40 to 50% of that happens, mostly. The problem there is they don't always do it. They don't always do it well. And then you might have an employee who doesn't really want to document the call very well because they didn't handle it very well. So you have all that going on. So AI just takes care of that. No employees involved, and it creates all this wonderful data. We can tell them exactly how many leads, how many they sold, what services people were buying. We can tell them if a customer's unhappy within about 3 minutes of the call, we could send them an alert. We can do the same thing. We're finding it with AI, because this was never visible before. About 30% of the leads, I feel like I'm talking really fast because I'm excited. 30% of the leads don't get put into a CRM, right? And so how do you know that as a company owner? That's something you would never know. But now we can tell you, and we can send you an alert within a few minutes, say, hey, this lead didn't come in. But sometimes employees get busy, they might put it off. Maybe the next day they were sick. So we poll the CRM like every day for like 5 or 6 days just to make sure it didn't show up somewhere. So the data's out. There's so much data there now, it's almost kind of trying to figure out what to do with it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. It sounds like you actually have a personal assistant on every call.
Well, you do. Absolutely. I'm going to steal that if I can.
You're welcome to it.
I really don't have to give you credit because it's kind of cumbersome. But no, that's a great point. That's really what it is. It's almost like I use a Firefly AI thing, and it's almost like that for every single call. But it also analyzes and it just tells you, it's just amazing. And that's all I can say. I use that word a lot. When you first see it, it's like, wow, this is just stuff that everybody should know.
Absolutely. I love the idea of having this personal assistant through each call, and also the summary of what the call was about. Because if you are trying to track, it's nice to have an idea of what is actually being discussed on the call.
The summary is huge because, if without that, somebody calls in and says, hey, I called 2 weeks ago, and then they have to kind of go through it again. And then the employee doesn't necessarily know if everything they're being told is completely accurate. Not that somebody's just lying to them, but you know how it is. So they have the note there, and then if there's a question, they can open it up and read the entire conversation. So it really helps, especially when there's quoting estimates and stuff like that. You know what estimate they quoted, you know the pricing. It just makes everything much more efficient. And then the other thing is being able to flag unhappy calls. So if somebody calls in now and the customer's unhappy about something, well, then an employee has to do something. They have to write an email. They have to do something. It has to go to another, like a service manager. Well, maybe they're busy. They're out in the field. It might be hours before that is seen and responded to. We can send them an email alert within a few minutes of every call saying, this customer just called in. They're unhappy. Here's the summary of the call. They can go in and read the entire transcript. So you're able to respond to these things within minutes without an employee doing anything. You're still going to need that employee to document the call, but you don't need them to go through the process of sending all this stuff out there, and the email is going to go out immediately.
I have to ask, what is your favorite feature?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's like I have 5 kids. I can't tell
you
which one.
How do you
pick? I got to say the X-ray dashboard. Well, I don't know. The note's pretty cool. So every day functionality for the people in the trenches, taking calls, dealing with customers. That AI note is amazing. It saves so much time and effort. Overall impact to the company, the ownership, the management, the X-ray dashboard. I really feel like it's going to end up being pretty much the vehicle for how they run their company. We're adding a sales scoring component. We're just going to keep adding features to it. So customer owner perspective, X-ray dashboard, user perspective, the AI notes are amazing. Again, I said amazing.
It's okay. It is. It is absolutely amazing.
It's the best word to use. Yeah, absolutely.
It's very descriptive.
Yes.
Before we go, is there anything else that you wanted to tell our listeners?
So many opportunities. But no, we're excited to be here. This is my second Ignite conference. I was in Vegas last year. And I got to say, we do a lot of shows, and we were all really excited yesterday because everybody here is just fantastic, right? Great crowd, great people. It's just a lot of energy. We love this show. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
It's
joining
amazing.
us today. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
AI is not the only thing that could be amazing.
Thank you so much
You're
for coming
welcome.
on. Cliff Killingsworth, you are the owner of Insect Pest and Lawn here in Florida and Alabama, and welcome to Ignite. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, please let our listeners know, how many Ignites have you been to?
This is my second Ignite. It's a great opportunity to network with people that are basically the best at the software we rely on.
Absolutely. So what do you feel is your Ignite strategy? How are you going throughout your day here?
I think they've laid out a great structure where they have a regimen of courses or breakouts that are geared toward your level of knowledge or sophistication with the software. So I think that's one any of the Ignite attendees could follow. I have some targets that I definitely want to attend, so we're kind of working around those things.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you most excited to see today?
The improvements to the software is always one I like to keep up with. What should we be implementing that would improve our operations? Bundles is definitely top of mind. Accounting integration, another.
Absolutely. I would love to also know, what are some of the features within FieldRoutes that you use to elevate your business on the everyday level?
The map view for scheduling, where you can filter the job pool to the subscriptions that you're really trying to target for scheduling, bulk handling processes like the lassoing tool that just overlay graphical information. It's one that really is simple for our agents to use, but make a huge impact for our field techs. So it's top class.
Absolutely. What is some advice that you would give to someone who is considering FieldRoutes?
It probably depends on where they're coming from. I think it's safe to call FieldRoutes one of the top software vendors, providers in our industry. You can really gain the benefits of so many other pest control companies feeding their software development, their software operations, and the rest of their services, their integration with other things that just make running business easier. So, I mean, we started with FieldRoutes in 2014 from, I would call us not a sophisticated user. And so it was easy to just make improvements by following what others were doing in pest control software, just laid out in front of you in FieldRoutes.
Amazing. I have to ask, since you've been with the software, you've been using the software for so long, what has the evolution been like with FieldRoutes, and where have some of the most exciting improvements happened for you?
You know, we started way back in 2014. One of the first things I asked for was to see customer history in the mobile app, and the amazing quick response in getting something very useful there to the person that matters most on what's going on with that account, the technician showing up at that job site, was eye-opening on some of the other levels of service we had received in a software vendor, just as one example. But we've been with them long enough to see many improvements that really have impacted our ability to simplify the administrative burdens and deliver real benefits to our field techs and our customers that I think are a great trend.
Awesome. Awesome. I have to ask, Ignite is really about community and getting to meet people in the industry. And I also know that you are a part of the Pathfinders Network, which is also all about community and sharing. How has that community changed the life of your business?
It's good. Well, it's good to commiserate, right? You know, there's business problems outside of software. And I think, you know, we can easily default to thinking we're going to solve this with software. That's not always the case. So just hearing other pest control operators talk about their business, talk about their pain, you know, you can learn a lot well beyond the software applications that you're trying to use best. So there's tremendous value in just getting together with these other pest control operators, but also other pest or FieldRoutes users. You're going to gain a lot.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you learned through the Pathfinders Network that you have implemented in your own business?
You know, we talk a lot about improved features. Bundles is one that's coming out recently. I think moved through the Pathfinders Network. I know we were part of the pilot for bundles, so we're excited about that one coming out. We think that's going to simplify some of the things that we have made unnecessarily complex in trying to operate. I think the latest from the Pathfinders is going to be a real focus on some of the fundamentals in the software, improvements there that, you know, it's not about new features. It's just about either simplification or working better. That's going to be a great trend coming out of the group. But really, the big benefit is this is your opportunity to tell your software vendor what you want most out of the software. So it's a very inexpensive opportunity to get what you want out of the software.
Absolutely. What a great opportunity. For my last question, and I have to ask, and we've talked before about this, but I know that you have a pretty interesting hobby that involves the coastline. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I love water sports. We love everything from fishing to boating to, I took a couple of years of scuba diving while I was at the University of Florida. And there's just so many beautiful places in Florida and along the coast that you just won't get that opportunity without doing it. So if you're here, I recommend it.
Amazing. I love that fact about you. I think that's such a fun experience, and I love to showcase it. So thank you so much, Cliff, for coming and speaking with us, and have a great Ignite. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. We sure will.
Bill Goins, you are with Pest SOS. Welcome to Ignite. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
We're really excited to talk to you. I'm very excited about this. Tell us about Pest SOS and what you do there.
Awesome. Well, Pest SOS is a company that kind of fills the needs for people that have their phone calls answered. If they need a CSR to be able to answer those phone calls after hours or even during hours based upon their business needs, then that's what they do there. But I work on the training SOS side, which is a division of Pest SOS. And what I do is I help people switch from an old CRM to the new CRM, which would be FieldRoutes. And then we train them on how to use all the different bells and whistles for that system because it is a very robust system.
Absolutely. Now, I know you have been using FieldRoutes and familiar with FieldRoutes for about 11 years now. Mm-hmm. So tell me, what do you think are some of the key benefits of using FieldRoutes that make it so valuable?
Well, my experience has gone from using an old kind of spreadsheet system that was called SPCS, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that was so long ago, and it was archaic, to say the least. But FieldRoutes, it ended up coming in, and I had to learn it from the ground up. So my comparison to other systems with training people has given me light to understand that the other systems aren't as robust as what FieldRoutes does. But really, the big things that I see it able to do for people is to do triggers, to automate certain things of their business, to do scheduling in a different way, multiple different ways, because there's more than one way to get things done inside the system, which is where I come in to kind of help people understand their business, ask them good questions about what their needs are, and then basically kind of conform my training to be what they need. So cool.
It's deciding what this business really can utilize within the software.
Yeah, me understanding other people's businesses is key for me to be able to help them so they can use the tools the right way that fits their needs.
Absolutely. I know you've kind of had this front row seat to the pest industry. In the past 11 years, what are some of the best practices that businesses that you've witnessed that you think people can benefit from?
Sure. I think especially in FieldRoutes or even any system, really keeping a clean system is very, very important. All those audits that we don't really like to do sometimes are things that we need to do. Because by keeping a clean system, you're able to end up having a good, clear picture of what your business is worth, as well as how productive it is, and be able to run your business in a much more efficient way. So that's one of the biggest, industry practices I would say everyone needs to practice.
Yeah. You've had this front row seat to FieldRoutes. Tell me about the evolution of the software.
Well, I've seen a lot of changes in FieldRoutes over the years. It changes so often, and there's new things that are added, so you have to stay constant to be able to learn. I used to ignore the little news things that would pop up in the bottom, and then I learned that was a horrible mistake because there's always new things, and you need to pay attention to that. So you click on those news things, you can see all the new things that they add, and then implementing that into your business as you need to. But really, one of the biggest things that I have seen change is the evolution of scheduling and routing. It used to be used where we would use one particular aspect of it called intelligent routing. And now we end up using different aspects like called FieldRoutes or even using a map view, which I really, really enjoy.
Nice. What are other features from FieldRoutes that you like to leverage when you're talking with a company?
Talking to people, I think triggers are really popular. Like I was mentioning earlier, triggers are something that really just helps automate people's businesses. You definitely want to use them the right way. You want to use them in a way that really you can control and not let them get out of hand, because that can definitely happen as well.
Sure.
Also, auto scheduling is another really cool feature that some people need for their business. It basically allows you to say, okay, I want this service, this time, on this day, every single month, and it will schedule it for you. So that's something else that I think is really, really useful. But again, using the tools are only as good as the people using them. So we have to use them the right way as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything today that you wanted to let our listeners know about before we're done?
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes down to pest control industry itself, I think it's something that is evolving constantly. Being in the industry for 11 years, managing 3 different teams of technicians at 3 different locations, you kind of see the changes. I remember when I first started with the company I was with, they were really, really awesome. They had their stuff under control, and it was a great first impression to the industry. And now that I've gone to other companies, I've seen how other companies are run, and it's night and day sometimes. I think it's really, really important that people understand that they can run their business in certain ways that would really benefit them. And talking to people like myself, other people that have been in the industry for a long time, I think is invaluable.
I have to ask you, what is your favorite part about coaching?
The people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love talking to people. I love helping people. I love building the relationships with people and just having those interactions.
Absolutely. It's a great community to be
It is
part
a great community. It's such a small and tight-knit community.
Yes.
But at the same time, everybody seems to be genuinely wanting everyone to be successful.
I agree. Everyone is looking out for each other.
100%.
It's a great place to
Yeah.
be. Bill, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on the podcast today and
Thanks.
talking with us.
It was a pleasure.